welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, Mrs. O'Leary appreciator and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
And I'm Julie, Rachel Elizabeth Dare #1 super fan. Still. Forever.
And you're still real for that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a podcast about Julie reading Battle of the Labyrinth for the first time. And we are joined once again by Soph, aka Sopapia's videos on TikTok. Hello, welcome back.
Hi, I'm so glad to be back.
For your favorite chapter.
Yes, this is my favorite chapter of Percy Jackson. I was so excited when you asked me to come back. So,
well, we're excited to have you. I mean, since you've already been here, I won't ask like how you got into the books, but instead, I want to ask, do you have a favorite Percy Jackson book?
My favorite book ever, like out of all of them, is Mark of Athena, but my favorite book in the first series is Battle of the Labyrinth.
I am also a big Mark of Athena fan, and it gets some hate from some members of the community, and
really,
I feel like that's unfair. Anyway, what was I doing here? Never mind. Okay. Okay. I am all turned around today. Like, the first thing I did when I woke up this morning, I checked my fantasy football score. Like, who am I?
What in the frat, bro?
My God.
I won. By the way, I won.
Oh, congrats.
I haven't checked my team all season, but for some reason last night I looked and I was like, oh, hey, I'm winning, but the games weren't over. And so this morning, for some reason, my first reaction was, I got to check my fantasy football score. So that's the energy that I'm bringing today. So yeah, that's where we're at. Anyway, chapter 14, my brother duels me to the death. The one that Julie accidentally read ahead of time.
Oops. Funny.
So we're in the basement of the Marriott Marquis Hotel in Times Square. And actually, fun fact, I just learned that they're about to open Elf the Musical there this weekend.
Oh.
Or I guess it will have been the weekend before by the time this comes out. But that's also, Julie, where we saw Once Upon a One More Time.
Yes, I remember.
For any theater appreciators out there, my hot take, Once Upon a One More Time was good and people just hate fun.
Yeah, I agree. Like, not every musical needs to be so serious. Like, some of them can just be entertaining.
Exactly. And Fairy Tale Princesses and Britney Spears music, what more could you want?
I know.
I would see it again. Absolutely.
It was an experience. I had a great time. I saw it twice.
It was good.
Anyway, we are not at the Marriott to catch a Broadway show here. We are, in fact, there to find the labyrinth. And so Rachel, takes them to the entrance. And once again, she's very queer-coded because she's in this, ratty MoMA shirt and, jeans that she's colored on. She's also got her hairbrush in her pocket, so she has packed more toiletries than Percy does for most quests. And also, as a fellow blue hairbrush user, I appreciate this representation.
I also am a blue hairbrush user. I'm convinced it's partially due to Percy Jackson.
Julie, what color is your hairbrush?
If you had to guess, what color do you think it is?
Pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pink. Both. I have 2 hairbrushes, one for wet hair, one for dry hair, and they're both pink.
Yep.
As they should be, honestly. All right, so immediately we go underground into the labyrinth and find a Cyclops skeleton. And Annabeth is real quick to assure Percy that, oh, this isn't anyone we know, aka Tyson.
Aww.
And Rachel immediately is like, what do you mean you have a friend who is a Cyclops? And Percy goes, oh, not just a friend, he's my half-brother Tyson. And also, we're trying to find our best friend Grover, who is a satyr. And I feel like this is kind of the moment that Rachel realizes that she possibly should have been asking more questions. And honestly, it's a little wild to me that they didn't explain the Grover and Tyson of it all to her before coming on this quest.
It's like she can see through the mist. It's not like it would have been a sit-down conversation. She was aware of the mythological world. So they should have just prefaced and been like, oh, by the way, here are Grover and Tyson. This is who they are. That always confused me too.
And surely she'd seen satyrs before at school, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and because in the last chapter, basically just said I told Rachel about the labyrinth and how we needed to find Daedalus, and I also told her what happened the last time we went in. And what exactly did he tell her if it did not include Grover and Tyson?
He was, his mind was a bunch of places during this book.
Uh-huh.
And being communicative was not one of them.
No.
I'm so glad that Julie has already read the kiss scene because I wanted to keep making jokes about it the last time I was on, and I had to bite my tongue. So I'm so glad that she's read it now.
Yes, I'm glad that we've all read it now.
Including Mal.
When you commented that on my TikTok, I gave the most Jim Halpert stare to my friend. I go, there's no way that Damon Got a Debut podcast, Mal, did not realize they kissed in the fourth book. I read that sentence over and over and over again when I was like 9. I was like, oh my God. Like, I like literally went back and I read that page like so many times. You can like see like my little like grimy child finger marks on the page.
Listen, in my defense, it sort of happens during a fight scene, and I tend to skim fight scenes.
That's so funny. Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry, we digress again, but I thought that was so funny.
Anyway, they come to this like crossroad, and Annabeth is still on her like old architecture must lead to older parts of the maze, aka Daedalus's workshop must be there kind of vibe, because she wants to go one way and Percy wants to go the other because it looks like the tunnel that Grover and Tyson took, but Rachel tells them that no, we have to go forward because of some brightness that only she can see. And so they go Rachel's way, and Annabeth barely even protests. Doesn't stop her from being a little bit bitchy again, though, because she asks Rachel where she's from, but Percy says she says it like, what planet are you from? And Rachel says Brooklyn, to which I say, hell yeah, Brooklyn representation. And Annabeth asks if her parents will be worried if she's out late, and Rachel says they probably wouldn't even notice if she was gone a week. And I am so mad that Rachel and Annabeth don't get to bond over their familial problems here. Like, Percy even says that Annabeth sounds less sarcastic when she asks, well, why wouldn't your parents notice? But they don't get to bond, and I want them to bond.
I saw this one meme and it was like, Percy really has a type. Curly heads that have parental issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to me because they should be like best friends. And this is why I think these books are so girlhood, because it's like, this is such a common problem that happens in high school. Two girls like the same guy, and then all of a sudden they're just not friends anymore.
Well, and like, if you like the same guy, you very clearly have some things in common.
Yeah.
There's some common ground.
I like always say in this part of the book, these 2 chapters, it becomes so apparent that like neither girl was in the wrong. And it's kind of questionable whether Percy was actually in the wrong. He's just really bad at communicating what he wants.
Like, Annabeth also could say something. Like, I know you can make the argument that, like, she made a move because she kissed him.
Yeah.
But also, you've known him at this point for 3 years. You know that he kind of doesn't pick up on things all the time. This is going to require a conversation. And not to, like, put it on her again, but, like, just... we're all bad at communicating, all of us.
I also think it was like the timeliness too. Like I feel like she definitely would have had a conversation with him had Rachel not needed to come into the picture. And then she like felt self-conscious because she's getting into like the part of your life where like being a girl, where you're like kind of self-conscious about everything that seems threatening, especially being an Athena kid where she thinks about every little thing possible. She was like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation right now when this other girl was in the picture and I could say something and then like not get the response that I want. And then I'm upset and I'm embarrassed.
She's so real for that.
Yeah.
Somehow, Rick Riordan, a middle-aged man from Texas, understands teenage girls incredibly well. I think.
He does. That's what I'm saying.
He's a teacher, right?
He was, yeah.
What did he teach? What grade, do you know?
I think middle school. Apparently he taught, for 15 years, he taught English and history at public and private middle schools in San Francisco and Texas.
Oh. That makes so much sense how he has so much San Fran knowledge then too. Because there's like very niche San Fran references in the books, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And now they live in Boston, I think. Okay, what were we talking about?
We're on page 254.
Great, thank you. Oh, Annabeth and Rachel, we wanted them to bond, and they don't get to bond because we're captured by Kelly and some Dracane. That's a name that I'm stabbing at again. So there's like a crowd ahead, and one of the Dracana says they'll be very popular with the host. And I gotta say, the Dracana sounds cool as hell. Like, this is just a woman with a forked tongue and, like, snake eyes and then snake legs. And she apparently moves with a combination of slithering and walking like she's on living skis. Like, this sounds cool to me. And this could just be because I am a reptile girly now. Like, I typed most of my notes for this episode with a bearded dragon, like, sleeping on my shoulder, so...
That's so cute. I love bearded dragons.
They're the best. I'm a lizard girl now. It's just who I am.
That shit freaks me out a little bit. I don't like it. I don't like the lizards.
Yeah, well, you're not a creature girl.
I'm not. I'm really not.
Wait, Mal, can we go back to the bottom of 253 real quick? Because I kind of noticed a little parallel with this in like later on in the chapter and later on in the thing.
Absolutely. God, do I have to get a physical book? Because I'm like 253. Great. I don't know what that is.
It's where Kelly says, well, and then Percy says, next, I uncapped Riptide. That's the sentence I'm talking about.
Ah, okay, great.
And okay, so I wanted to quickly touch on the reason why I'm on this podcast today is Annabeth's hatred for Kelly. I love it. Annabeth had already had her knife like this for listeners. I have it like adjacent to my face, holding it before Percy even has the chance. The minute she hears Kelly's voice, she's like, "Oh, fight or flight! Not doing this today."
And as she should.
Yeah. Anyways, I just want to point that out. She does not play when it comes to Percy.
So the Dracana snake woman tells Percy that the host is his brother, which immediately makes him think Tyson. And then also there's like a Lastrygonian giant who picks up Annabeth and takes her knife. And Kelly says, "Go on, entertain us, Percy." And he looks at Rachel and promises to get her out of this and says nothing to Annabeth, probably, because he knows she can take care of herself. But I'm sure that this pissed Annabeth off.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I feel like it would have pissed her off if he had been like, "Annabeth, I'll get you out of this." She'd be like, "I don't need you to get me out of like."
No pleasing her.
I think she just wants to be pissed. Yeah, she just wants to be pissed either way.
Sometimes you feel like that.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to be mad, and it's valid. All right, so then we're in a very like Hunger Games style arena.
Yeah.
One thing that kind of made me laugh was Percy says that it's not the biggest arena he's ever been in, but it still feels spacious for being underground. And so first I'm like, have you had to fight to death in an arena before, Percy? But then I'm like, oh, he's probably referencing, like, he's probably been to like MSG for a Knicks game or something.
Yeah.
But, my immediate thought was like, how many to the death fights have you been in?
Yeah, I always assumed like sports game because I was confused and I read that like, oh, he's from New York. He's like probably talking about a sports game.
Sometimes the thing that makes the most sense is the thing that's true.
Yes.
And then to kind of set the scene in our arena, we've got like a fight going on and stands filled with monstrous spectators. The arena is decorated with a ton of skulls. I love what they've done with the place. There's also a massive Poseidon banner on display, which confuses Percy. And above the banner is our good friend Luke. He's in camo pants and a white t-shirt. Very glad that we've moved away from the business casual that he was wearing, like on the ship. But he still does not have his sword, which is interesting. And we've got a full-on gladiator fight happening in the middle. It's like a giant and a centaur fighting, and we get the whole, like, dramatic thumbs down that you see in, like, the movies, that it's okay to go for the kill. Antaeus is apparently not very impressed with this entertainment that Luke has provided, so Luke says he's brought Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon, to fight. And Antaeus says that, yeah, if his death is pleasing, then maybe Luke can cross the territory. Percy's real thrown off by the whole Antaeus being his brother thing and asks how he can be a son of Poseidon. And Antaeus declares that he is Poseidon's favorite son, and he built this temple to Poseidon out of the skulls of those he killed in his name. Really fun and great stuff there. Percy's reaction to that always kind of cracks me up. The way that he goes, "How could this be a temple for my dad? My dad was a nice guy. He never asked me for a Father's Day card, much less somebody's skull."
He's so out of pocket, and especially in this book. Like, I feel like when Percy gets nervous, he says like the most like outlandish stuff.
A little bit, yeah.
In narration and like to other people.
Yeah, when things kind of start not going his way or like things don't fit into his worldview, he gets a little like, whoa.
No, seriously. It's like that is our Percy.
And good old Annabeth tries to warn Percy that Antaeus's mother is how have you said this name? Because I always go with Gaia, but I don't think that's right.
I thought it was Gaia.
Is it Gaia?
Yeah, I think it's Gaia too.
Gaia. Anyway, Antaeus's mother is Gaia, but Percy doesn't really know what to do with this information, much like many of the things that Annabeth tells him. He just kind of files it away for later. Percy ends up like absolutely annihilating this Dracana in his first fight, and I think her mistake was that she showed up with like a net and a trident against the son of Poseidon. Rookie mistake.
Like, where is the logic there?
Right. And Antaeus is mad that it went too fast and that Percy didn't like wait for permission. But Luke, however, is impressed because Percy's gotten better with his sword.
In this book, Luke makes my skin crawl because of like how creepy he is with the kids. His obsession with children is just really weird.
You're being creepy, Luke. Stop.
I hate that sentence. It makes me uncomfortable.
And then Percy in the second round has to fight a demigod. And so it's this guy, he's about 16, he's got an eye patch, and says his name is Ethan Nakamura. What a guy, Ethan Nakamura. And Ethan says he has to prove himself in order to join the Titan army. And I really was just out here thinking that they would take anybody. I didn't know they had to prove themselves.
Also, I think it's because Ethan, and I don't think he has any direct powers. So it's like for somebody like Percy, they have like powers that are useful to them. So I think it's like Ethan has to show his like combat skills.
Oh, because he's not powerful enough? Wow. And he still wants to join? God.
Yeah, it's like this is why Ethan is like such an interesting character, because the fact that he can't understand that they really don't care about him is like so baffling to me.
And he's like, the gods don't care about us. Yeah, neither do the Titans. Neither does the Titan army. At least the demigods would care about you, like at Camp Half-Blood.
Logic with Ethan, I know that he's such like a morally great character, such a good character. He low-key makes me angry because like how could you be that dumb sometimes? I'm like, they're using you for like fun. Like they don't care about you.
Yeah. Ethan. What a guy. So Ethan is a pretty good fighter, but eventually Percy manages to pull I think it's the same disarming maneuver that like Luke taught him in the first book, because parallels, or also maybe because Rick doesn't know a lot of sword moves, or both. And then Percy refuses to kill Ethan because of course he does. That would be out of character, but also that would be pretty dark for a kid's book. And so of course Antaeus doesn't like this, and Percy does his whole like, oh yeah, why don't you fight me then? And so Antaeus does. Percy gets a couple good hits in, but every time he stabs him, sand comes pouring out and heals him, which is a bummer. And Percy looks at Annabeth as like, what was she trying to tell me? And manages to work out that like, since Antaeus' mother is Gaia, he must not be able to be hurt whenever he's on the ground. I also wonder if he has the same water power, like the water healing that Percy has, because his dad is Poseidon. And so, then the only one he's missing is air healing power, which, is how they eventually get him. But important question, if you could have healing powers like in the air, on land, in water, which would you pick?
Definitely water. I know I'd be the least practical, which is honestly kind of out of character for me, but it'd be kind of cool.
See, I was also thinking water. I don't know, the sand thing feels inconvenient, and I don't know, air just kind of seems lame, and I'm like, water's pretty easily accessible. I feel like you could heal whenever.
I forgot, could Percy heal himself from like a water cup? Could it like he like stick his hand in this and like heal himself, or does it have to be like a body of water? Like he has to be like immersed.
It's an excellent question. He might have to be immersed, because that's kind of the only time that he heals himself, right? When he's like fully in the water. I think in the Lightning Thief, he just like stands in the river and it starts to heal him.
Yeah, but his like it was also I think it had to be a natural moving body of water.
That makes sense. So maybe water powers are not the move. Wait, Julie, what kind of healing powers would you want?
I'd probably go Earth. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty practical because you're always connected to the Earth somehow.
Unless you're on an airplane.
Well, I've only flown like once, so.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yes, we went to London together.
I love that. Wait, how long have y'all been friends? I'm so sorry, off topic. I'm curious.
We moved in together as roommates in July of 2020.
Gotcha.
And they were roommates.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
We sure were. And I miss you every day.
Aw.
You too.
Okay, wait, back to our fight. This fight is also fascinating to me because it just seems like everything goes kind of perfectly. Like Percy just manages to pull a maneuver with the chains to like make Antaeus kind of dangle in the air, then just kind of stabs him and sends sand pouring out until he's no more. So sad. Anyway, and Luke is not happy with this, but really Percy just did him a favor. Like, he wanted to cross through Antaeus' territory, and now that Antaeus is gone, he can do that. But instead of being grateful, he's like, I have to kill Percy. But interestingly, he asks for Annabeth to be spared because he wants to talk to her before, quote, our great triumph.
I hate this.
I hate it here, so I will go to... He just comes across as kind of creepy. You're like, she's a 14-year-old girl, get away from her.
Yeah. My little cousin is 14, and I'm like, that's a child. Like, I don't even
That is a child.
Literally. She'll ask me for like Percy Jackson fix, and I'll be like, no. No, you're a child. Like, I just not being exposed to that at 14, therefore you're not.
That's good. As if I wasn't reading Percy Jackson fanfic at 14, but
I don't like the Luke having a soft spot for Annabeth. I don't. Because she still has a soft spot for him, and I don't. I don't like that dynamic.
well, and like as a child reading it never even struck me as weird. Like the way that Luke is with Annabeth, I was just like, oh, yeah, this is fine. Because when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15 reading these books, I was like, yeah, okay, 22-year-old guy, this is fine. And now as an adult, I'm like, get a job, stay away from her. You're a grown adult.
When I was 14, I was obsessed with Matthew Ray Gubler. But, like, of course, you would never date me. I'm a 14-year-old. Like, because you're an adult, you're supposed to have the judgment to be like, no, that's a child. This is unhealthy obsession. Like, this just shows that Luke is inherently a bad person. Like, he's not a morally gray person. He is a bad person.
I feel like I have a little bit of sympathy for Luke, just because I feel like it's kind of a cycle of abuse. I feel like it's older people taking advantage of these kids. And like Luke got involved with Kronos when he was a kid, and Kronos like took advantage of that. But then there is a lot that is Luke's own choices and bad decisions and just generally having a weird obsession with a 14-year-old and like, So, anyway, Luke. Bleh. Okay, so it's almost to the end of this one. So every monster in the arena kind of starts drawing their weapons, and Percy is finally forced to use the dog whistle that he was given. And so he blows it, and it immediately shatters, but Mrs. O'Leary does show up to save the day, and just kind of like causes havoc so that they can escape.
I love her so much.
Yes, one of my favorite characters. Top 10 for sure. Rachel calls that the far exit is the right way for them to go, so they all kind of race out of the arena, Ethan included. And I'm sure that Ethan will do the right thing now that Percy has saved his life.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've all read chapter 15. Yeah. Okay, we ready for 15?
Ready for 15.
15 is we steal some slightly used wings. Give it up for our absolute icon, Rachel Elizabeth Dare, in the beginning here, leading them flawlessly through the labyrinth while they are running for their lives until they stop to rest. And we lose Mrs. O'Leary along the way, which is devastating, and like Percy feels horrible about it. Ethan says that they're all crazy, and Annabeth recognizes him as an undetermined camper from the Hermes cabin. And he apparently had two eyes then. And Percy's really, really stupid and says, oh, Ethan's the half-blood they found in the maze, not Nico. Like, shut your mouth. Annabeth asks why he was trying to join the army that is making kids fight to the death. And he says he's not going to argue, but thanks for saving my life, but I'm leaving. He has very big, like, you're entitled to your wrong opinion, that's fine energy here. He tells Percy he shouldn't have spared him because Mercy has no place in this war and heads off alone into the maze. What a guy. Just endlessly fascinating to me.
Also, I love how Annabeth is slowly starting to get like more pissed off because she goes, sign up with an army that makes you fight to the death for entertainment. Gee, I wonder.
Yeah.
She's so sick of everyone's BS at this point. She's like,
Annabeth is at her limit. So then, without Ethan and Mrs. O'Leary, we are back down to our trio, and they kind of set up their little camp. And Annabeth says that something was wrong with Luke. He was acting nervous and clearly wanted to tell Annabeth something. But Percy isn't really willing to consider what this might mean, because to him, Luke was just, like, as evil as usual. Annabeth kind of turns her frustration into snark towards Rachel, and is like, which way next, Sacagawea? Which...
Don't love that.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
I mean, very product of its time.
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of the historical references are products of their time. But turns out when it doesn't have to do with Luke, Percy can in fact notice when people are acting different, because he says that Rachel has been quieter since the arena. And Rachel says that they'll just keep following the bright path. And Annabeth says, oh yeah, the one that led us right into a trap. Cool, right, yeah, great. Percy tells her to lay off of Rachel, and Annabeth immediately leaves, saying that she's going to go find some more scraps for their fire. And then, in a, like, Percy interaction of all time, he tells Rachel, Annabeth isn't usually like this, and he doesn't know what her deal is.
So clueless.
And because Rachel is a person who has spent more than 2 seconds with Annabeth and Percy, like, she knows what her deal is, and goes, are you sure you don't know? And then says,
what do you mean?
Says, boys, totally blind. She's right, and she should say it. This is exactly why she and Annabeth would make such good friends.
Yeah.
Both Annabeth and Rachel, their hobbies include knowing and being right.
So I don't know if you noticed this. This moment when he's talking to Rachel is so similar to like him and Annabeth's first sleep in the labyrinth. And I hated this. This is literally the chapter where I'm like, oh no, he's gonna mess this up. They're not gonna get together. He's gonna mess it up. No, no, no. This is where 9-year-old me started panicking.
I think this conversation is a little bit different because parts of it kind of divert into sort of awkward first date small talk. Because, like, she gives kind of an update on the quest, and she's like, look, I don't think we're far from the workshop, and she, like, apologizes that they had to go into the arena. But, you know, in her defense, Luke literally said in the dream that Percy had that it is impossible to get anywhere in the labyrinth without going through the arena. She also, like, says, I thought you were gonna die, and Percy gives us another all-timer line where he's like, don't feel bad, I'm usually about to die. But then he starts asking, like, what does she do in her free time? And she's like, well, I like to paint and I like to read. And he's like, well, that's zero similarities for us. Like, you know who else you know who likes to read? Annabeth. And you have never once been like, Annabeth and I have nothing in common. So.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
I don't know. It's just, it feels different. It feels different. This is like awkward first date small talk. Because they don't know each other the way Percy and Annabeth do. They don't have the history.
Wait, at the bottom of the page, she tossed some more sticks on the fire. She looked at Rachel and then at me. She goes, I'll take first watch. You should sleep too. You don't have to act like that. Like what? Like,
yep.
Come on. He's so close to figuring it out. And I'm just like gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my marbles.
No, he is like so determined to remain 0 for 2 with both of these women.
It's kind of admirable in a way.
Like, just saying completely the wrong thing with both of them right now. Just like an absolutely abysmal performance. God. But then we get kind of a throwback here because I don't think Percy has had a good Kronos voice from the pit dream since like the first book, right? Because ever since we saw like the golden sarcophagus on the boat, Kronos has kind of appeared in that form.
Yeah.
And we also haven't really seen Kronos in a dream in a while. Most of his dreams have been like either myth backstory or like things that are actually happening in real life. So I was like, whoa, forgot about this one. Kronos pit dream. And I have been rewatching Parks and Rec. So actually the whole time I was singing the like pit song, you know, the like, I was in it, the pit.
Oh.
We all were in it, the pit.
Andy sang, or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, Andy sang that.
Okay, as I thought.
We fell in it, the pit. Yeah. The pit.
Oh, Andy and April. I love them.
Good show. Good show.
Good show.
And in his dream, Percy says that the voice sounds different this time, almost like it's coming from a physical body now. Kronos tells Percy he has much to thank him for because he has assured his rise. And so to repay Percy, he offers to show him the friends he abandoned. And so now we're back to our like real life things happening dreams. We all of a sudden see Grover and Tyson being chased by a giant snake, which starts to squeeze Tyson. And Grover starts playing his pipes and the cave starts collapsing, only for Percy to wake up because Annabeth is shaking his shoulder and yelling earthquake. And Percy like wakes up Rachel real quick just in time for them to run and the tunnel to collapse behind them. I've never really put much thought into this before, but is this connected to the Grover and Tyson dream? Like,
I always thought so.
Yeah, the fact that Grover, like in the dream, Grover was like making their cavern collapse and then all of a sudden they're having this earthquake. I was like, is this supposed to tell us that we are closer to Grover and Tyson than we thought? And now we've just like driven ourselves further apart with who's to say? Who's to say?
I think it's definitely like, I think that it definitely was intentional. The way that he like ended the dream with the earthquake and then it's Annabeth waking him up. So I think that definitely was intentional.
Yeah. It's either the earthquake is from like Kronos and he's just like messing with them, or Grover caused that and it's like affecting them. I don't know. Just things to consider. But yay. or not yay, I guess. We've made it to Daedalus's workshop. Turns out Annabeth was wrong when she said that it would be in the oldest part of the maze because they're in like a really modern part. Annabeth, of course, does not take this well. And Percy, again, because he has to make everything worse, says, well, so much for ancient architecture. Just Percy, shut up challenge. Like, oh my God.
This page, I know it's like funny, but it also like really hurt my feelings because like she's supposed to be leading this quest and she's like time and time again so disappointed with herself because Annabeth is so rarely wrong. And then Rachel's there too, which like peace love, I love you, Rachel, but like it's like really hurting her self-confidence. And so she's running around this workshop and she's like, this is so wrong. Like you can just like feel the frustration pouring from her because she like literally feels like she cannot do anything right.
Yeah, she has just been taking L after L after L here.
Yeah.
Because number one, she gets a quest that is literally impossible. She gets a prophecy that is foretelling really terrible things and at least one person dying. She consistently like doesn't know what to do on this quest. She almost loses Percy, then learns that Percy was with another girl for 2 weeks and then came back and said that a separate third girl needs to lead her quest. Just nothing is going right for Annabeth. Nothing is going right for Annabeth. I feel for her.
It's not funny actually. It's like really depressing. But like I understand this all too well. Like whenever I get frustrated, I feel like it's like something I've like worked on where I get like really bitchy because I'm like frustrated and I can't figure out like how to fix it. To Rachel and Percy, she's just coming off as bitchy. And she's just like so frustrated. And she's like struggling to communicate how frustrated she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fun of having it through Percy's point of view is that, like, a lot of times when you're a kid, you're just kind of taking everything Percy says at face value, and you're like, Annabeth is being such a bitch right now. She kind of sucks. And then you read it as an adult, and you can kind of see where she's coming from and all the just crap that has been piled on her in this book and all the pressure, even coming from Percy, because like we've said earlier, like in our coverage of this book, there's such a shift in the way that Percy is constantly looking to Annabeth for answers. Like every time he gets a new piece of information in this book, he's like, I need to tell Annabeth. I want to know what Annabeth thinks. There's so much pressure on her from all these sides. And like, poor girl is about to pop.
I always talk about like, this is the book where I feel like part of their issues is that he's like freaking her out because he doesn't know how to do it any other way. But because she's maturing, she can understand that she's freaking out. And she's like, I don't know how to tell him and I'm just going to be mad about this. And it also makes me so sad. At the bottom of 277, when she's still trying to assert that, oh, I know what I'm talking about. Because she says, like, D. Immortal, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a genius. Look at the curves on this building. She's, like, trying to once again be like, oh, I promise I am smart. Like, I promise I know what I'm talking about. Like, she's, like, trying to interject, like, again, to be like, I understand I was wrong about the workshop. I still know what I'm talking about.
Annabeth Chase, the girl that you are, she's so important to me.
She's so special to me.
The fictional character of all time. So the studio, I mean, like you said, Annabeth is super impressed with everything she sees, like in Daedalus's workshop. And she's like, he's a genius. Rachel says he's an artist. And once again, Rachel and Annabeth could be such a dream team. Like you've got kind of the planning logistics side with Annabeth, and then you've got kind of the artsy side with Rachel. We could be so good. We could be so good if we could just get over this 14-year-old boy who's so stupid that he can't help but just piss us both off this entire chapter.
They really need to work it out on the remake.
Yeah. But actually, if Rachel and Annabeth were getting along, they would be too powerful, and they would probably just solve everything without Percy.
Yeah.
And so, Percy also looks out the window and recognizes that he can see the Rocky Mountains, which kind of got me thinking just how well traveled he is, like within the United States. Like he's been so many places. Like every summer he goes basically coast to coast.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I was just thinking about like Percy going back to school to his like rich Upper East Side. I assume Good is supposed to be a private school. I don't know. But I'm just like assuming since it's on the Upper East Side, like the students there have money. And so everyone's probably coming back from summer and talking about the like lavish vacations they went on. And I could just see Percy being like, well, I went to this camp on Long Island for a couple weeks, and then I went to San Francisco and I spent some time at a ranch in Texas. And then like I was in Colorado for a bit. Leave all the fighting for your life out of it. And like, this is a pretty banging summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like you went all these places.
No, seriously. Like he has lore. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god, I love this page because I always was like picturing Quintus as being kind of intimidating. And Annabeth is just like so done at this point. And she goes, "You," Annabeth said, "what have you done with Daedalus?" And Quintus is like, "Hussy, my dear, you don't want to meet him." And she goes, "Look, Mr. Traitor, I didn't fight a dragon woman, a three-bodied man, and a psychotic sphinx to see you. Now where's Daedalus?" Such a badass. Like literally.
No, I am picturing like a fully feral Annabeth here. Like Percy, like on the "Look, Mr. Traitor" line, Percy literally writes like "she growled." Like this is Annabeth is at her limit and she is about to go apeshit and like just lose it. And I think she should be
Mhm.
allowed to as a treat.
This chapter is like the definition of female rage. Like I love how female rage is so like specific in the way that it builds, and I love the way you can feel her rage building in this chapter.
That's so true. It's just been like one thing after another. Like she saw Luke, which is gonna make her an emotional wreck anyway, and then Percy was kind of dismissive of her feelings, but he wasn't dismissive of Rachel's feelings. And
Uh-huh.
then she finally makes it to the workshop she's been looking for, and then Percy rubs it in her face that like she was wrong about it being in the oldest part of the maze. And then she comes in and oh, who do we not find? Daedalus. Instead, it's Quintus, who we figured betrayed us. Yeah, there it's been too much and the rage is just building and let her go off. Let her go off.
I also love how she handles the beginning of this interaction. She's like, "I got this." I loved it because I'm like, oh, she's finally starting to take charge again because she's like did that the entire series, but she didn't really do it as much as book because she was feeling like so bad. But she's like, "I'm done with this BS. I'm taking charge again." And she goes, "The agent of Kronos," he said, "that I worked for Luke." And she goes, "Well, duh." Like she's so funny.
Yes. And okay, Quintus here is just like okay, he says he doesn't work for Luke. He only works for himself, which is like very classic. The villain's not manipulating me. I'm just working for myself. It very much reminds me of Nico saying that he doesn't care about Kronos. He just wants his sister back. Like, hey, that's exactly how the villain manipulates you with the things that you want. And like, oh my god, not to get too ahead of myself here because like we're not even to the like multiple bodies thing here, but like how can you be on your fifth body and still be this naive?
I feel like Percy Jackson was such a good, like Rick did such a good job of being like, this is how different types of people can get manipulated by other people. Like that's why I always like the books. I felt like I could like read them and figure out how to handle a situation.
Can't catch me getting manipulated. I read Percy Jackson.
Still did.
So Quintus kind of does a lot of like dancing around the actual question in this conversation. Like
He's so annoying.
it's very like he's just kind of answering the question that is like immediately posed to him, but like not telling them the big thing because he wants to like do this big dramatic reveal. But like finally, when Percy's like, "Stop playing games, tell us where Daedalus is," and he's just like, "I am Daedalus."
That got me. I will say, I did not see that coming.
Okay, I was wondering. I kind of thought you didn't, but
I was like, oh my God, what? I loved it.
I also like I didn't want to call attention to it because I didn't want to be like, so like Quintus, what do you think about him? Because I was told in our coverage of the Lightning Thief that I asked too many questions about Luke and I like walked you to the like Luke is the traitor, but I maintain that you are not an idiot
Thank
and
you.
like you would have figured that out anyway. And like in the Lightning Thief, we know like four people. There are like four characters that could be the traitor. So really, process of elimination, it's not that hard to arrive at
Mhm.
Luke.
Yeah. It's like people that are like, "Oh, I'm so surprised." I was like, really? I'm like, I understand everyone reads books differently, but I was like, I thought it was so obvious. Like I remember I was like read the Luke chapter and I was like, that scorpion scene though, that freaked me out as a child. But the actual like act of Luke being the traitor, I was like, oh, we saw that coming.
I didn't see it coming because I read things at face value, and so I'm very like
How old were you when you read The Lightning Thief?
I was in sixth grade, so either 11 or 12. I can't remember like what point in the year I read it,
Okay.
but even now, I'm just very like the plot twist in every single movie will get me because I take the information that you're giving me and there is no critical thinking going on. And so honestly, it's a more fun way to live, I think, because then I get to be like, whoa, that's so crazy. And then other people look at me like, you're an idiot. It's fine.
Wait, Mal and Julie, I think I might have asked you on the last one. What are your cabins?
So I have determined our cabins. I think Julie is without a doubt Aphrodite. So what is that? Cabin 10?
Yeah.
And I think I am a child of Hermes, so 11.
OMG, we're neighbors.
We are.
Wait, I hate to burst the bubble, but isn't it odd and even?
It is, yeah.
Damn it.
Y'all are right across from each other, though.
We can visit.
Yeah.
Y'all can do a little flashlight thing across the
Yeah.
lawn.
And you're over there in cabin 6, right?
If it wasn't like painfully obvious.
What? Who?
Oh, actually, funny story. I was in like the biggest denial. I don't know if I told you this on the last time I was on. I went to Austin Camp Half-Blood when I was like 13. And at that time, I was like, oh, I'm Aphrodite. And they're like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. And they're like, no, you're not. I told everybody and their sister that I was Aphrodite. Because I was like, when I was little, I was like really into like cutesy clothes. I always really little bows in my hair. I had like light up Skechers. Like I was like very like cutesy. I was very like girly. And they were like, no, you are like so Athena that it's like not even funny. And I was like, no. And I was like in denial. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I'm 1000% Athena.
Okay. We were talking about Quintus, who is actually Daedalus.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Percy's got a lot of things to say about this one. Like, first, he's like, you're not an inventor, you're a swordsman. And then he's like, you don't even look like Daedalus. But then he remembers the dream that he had where Perdix was like talking about making automaton bodies for humans so they never die, which is horrifying. I don't understand the desire to live forever.
So this is going to sound so morbid. When I was little, I was really scared of death. And then the series made me realize how much I would never want to live forever. Like how terrifying that is.
Well, yeah, and it's a kind of a big pattern in this book that we keep running into very miserable immortals. Like we saw Briareus and we saw Eurydion, and now we're kind of seeing Daedalus and all these people who kind of have an eternal life that sucks. And who wants that? Would, however, consider an automaton body if I could be super hot.
But like Mal, you are super hot already.
I was just about to say that. You beat me.
And I made that comment just so you would tell me that I'm hot.
You are.
But also like I mean, I feel like it can look like whatever you want, right? Like I can be. But actually, no, that's too much pressure. I'm good, actually.
I don't know if you were gonna say something about this, but I feel like when Annabeth said you found a way to transfer your animus into a machine, that's not natural. Like the way she's so uncomfortable with it.
Because it's not. It's weird.
It's like freaky.
The fact that like this is his 5th body and like every body he gets the same like murderer's brand on his neck for his nephew. His nephew that he did not push out of a tower, he simply just let fall to his death because the distinction is important, apparently.
It's more like manslaughter than murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say it's more like negligent homicide.
Sure.
It's like he could have stopped it.
All right. So Quintus. Quintus has also apparently talked to Luke, and he said he's very persuasive. And turns out that Quintus came to camp to see if it was worth saving. And he says he can't stop Luke from using the maze because even though it's tied to his life force, it's out of his control now. And he's been hiding here from death for centuries. Minos has apparently been after him, but even he couldn't kill him, despite being a judge of the dead. And, like, okay, I have questions. Like, how did Minos get to be a judge in the underworld?
He's so negligent. Like, how?
Also, don't they say in the first book that, like, Thomas Jefferson is one of the judges? So, this seems like a very corrupt system down there. Oh, Mrs. O'Leary shows up again while they're having this conversation. And
My queen.
okay, it's kind of hitting me now, the Mrs. O'Leary. And I know that like people give their pets names like that, but also, could Mrs. O'Leary have like a nice hellhound husband or wife like waiting for her back in Tartarus? Just wondering.
Do they? I can't remember. It's like I feel like I need to do like a full reread. Do they ever touch on why Mrs. O'Leary had such a like a taking to demigods and like wanting like not being like a killer hellhound?
Not really.
Because I always assumed it was because of Quintus.
I think that it is.
Okay.
I think that Quintus has taken this hellhound and has like domesticated her.
Yeah, he raised her since she was a puppy, right?
Did he? Did it say that? It might have said that. Did it? When did Mrs. O'Leary get introduced? Now I want to know.
I always had like the feeling that he raised her since she was a puppy, because he's immortal. Like he raised Quintus slash Daedalus raised Mrs. O'Leary since she was a puppy, and that's why she's quote unquote domesticated for a hellhound.
Um, okay, so no, Percy asks, "How did you get a hellhound for a pet?" And he says, "Long story involving many close calls with death and a few giant chew toys."
So she wasn't a baby hellhound whenever he adopted her. Interesting.
I don't know. Quintus doesn't give us very much information. Quintus is not very forthcoming.
I think the one thing about Percy Jackson, especially Battle of the Labyrinth and Last Olympian, there was like so much information on like Tumblr when these books started to first become popular that I sometimes get things confused. That I'm like, wait, that definitely happened, and then I read the book and I'm like, wait, no, I don't think they explicitly say that happened.
Yeah, because people just like say things and then you're like, "Oh, that's a thing that happened," and it's like not. So, yeah. Percy kind of questions why Quintish slash Daedalus gave him a whistle that would actually work to call her. And he says that he wanted to help because he felt guilty that their quest would be in vain. And like, then he says a bunch of stuff about how like having a clear-sighted mortal is better than a string anyway. But then Luke was like so fixated on the magic item. And okay, I have to say, no matter how many times I read this book, the next bit, like, always gets me. It's just one of those lines that every time I read it, like, feels like a gut punch. 'Cause Annabeth asks, like, where's the string? And Daedalus says, with Luke, I'm sorry, but you're several hours too late. Like, ugh. Every time, just like the sense of dread that hits me hearing that, it's like, crap. Like,
Yeah.
we've come all this way for nothing.
And she yet again is like, oh my God, not slept one night? Could we have gotten further one day? Could we have made one different turn? This was my quest. This was my discretion, and I did this. That's her thought process.
And the way like Percy realizes this is why Luke had been in such a good mood earlier. And Percy also is kind of faced with the realization that, oh crap, I did help Luke by killing Antaeus, who's kind of his last obstacle in the way, like stopping him from going to camp. Like just absolutely brutal. The consequences of our actions, they are here, and they are terrible.
You know what I always wondered? Like, there's really nothing they can do at this point. They knew at this point that camp was going to be attacked. Why didn't they sprint TF back to camp, like, and got everybody out? Like, I know that would have ruined the book. That's not the point of the book. But that made me so mad because I'm like, why are you still here? Run.
But also we have to kind of finish with Daedalus here because, he's also going to talk about his why and all the things. And also, this fight scene freaking rules, and I'm glad that we have it. So, Quintus says that Kronos offered him his freedom and promised to let him rule the underworld so he can get rid of Minos and like find Icarus and make up with Perdix. And he also tells them that their cause is doomed, and he knew that from the moment he started working at camp, which rude. And then Annabeth goes apeshit, as she should. She starts like pushing over easels and like yelling about how he was her hero and the children of Athena are supposed to be wise, not just clever, and like how he should have died over 2,000 years ago. And I've said it before, and I will say it again, Annabeth should have been meaner.
Oh, I didn't catch this. He goes, you should go warn your camp. Oh, so I think they were like just about to leave, and then the next thing happens. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm preemptively annoyed. I didn't realize that he told them to leave.
Yeah, because pretty quickly it's betrayal, and who would have seen that coming?
Yep.
Oh, all of us. So the doors kind of open, and Nico is pushed in, followed by Kelly and two Lastrygonians and the ghost of Minos. And turns out that Minos turned over Nico to them in exchange for Daedalus's head. And since they already got what they need from Daedalus, oh well, who would have thought something like that could happen?
Book is so frustrating.
And poor Nico apparently got tricked by Minos into going back into the maze by, telling him that the rest of them were in danger, and Percy's just kind of shocked that Nico wanted to help them. Percy also asks why Luke isn't here, and Kelly says Luke is ... busy. Then Rachel has the galaxy brain idea to go and like get the wings while everyone else starts fighting. Really glad that we have found a job for Rachel to do, so she is not involved in this fight. We should give Rachel a weapon.
She could handle her own, I think.
Yeah.
Once again, another place that I think Annabeth and Rachel could be friends. Like, Annabeth could train Rachel to use a knife.
Yeah.
Come on.
She would pick up quickly. I mean, she's so smart. Like, I love Rachel.
I believe in Rachel's ability to kill some monsters. She can see them, at least.
Yeah.
A lot of times she sees them before Percy even does. So, like,
Probably because like the only thing she's really paying attention to. Also, another similarity to Annabeth. Whenever she gets like the tunnel vision to like figure something out, her and Rachel are the same in that aspect.
what we could have had, the dynamic duo that is Rachel and Annabeth. All right, so our fight scene. Woo! There's some excellent stuff in this one. So, first of all, we've got Minos starting to summon spirits, but Nico fighting back, and Minos says, "You can't control me. I've been controlling you. I'm the Ghost King." And Nico goes, "No, I am," and then banishes him by stabbing his sword in the floor and like sucking Minos in. Thank God. I really like that, this is another relationship where you've got like a much older and more powerful person who's kind of grooming and using a much younger child. So I'm just very glad that Nico got to save himself here and kind of fight back against Minos. It's important to me.
I got so many chills reading that scene. Every single time I read the scene, you have no power with me. I'm Lord Scared King. And then Nico, I can just imagine him just like deadpan go, "No, I am." And then slams his sword into the ground. Oh, beautifully done.
And we are rising or falling by the Ghost King's hand, baby. The prophecy, it's all coming together.
Yep. There's really not much to dissect, to be honest. Like, it's amazing. Like, that is one of the
It's all there.
that is one of the best one-liners in the series. Like, there was nothing that needs to be explained. It was just so beautifully done.
It's also only like, other than summoning ghosts, this is only the second time that we've seen Nico really use his powers, and kind of the first time that it's happened in a fight. I mean, he took care of the skeletons at the end of the Titan's Curse, but that wasn't really like a huge fight. Like this is a fight, and this is woo, Nico. And then there's the Percy and Kelly of it all. It's not going well. Percy like falls and hits his head on the table on the way down, and like Kelly's about to eat him when all of a sudden Annabeth is just like removing her knife from Kelly's back and she dissolves. So more girl on girl violence from Annabeth here. But she deserves this one.
The way that I can just picture Annabeth on the other side of the room, like, watch Kelly tackle him, watch his head hit the floor, and then just like slowly, just like kind of just like jogs over. And while Kelly's like giving her like flirty little bitchy bit, Annabeth's just like,
The end.
I can just like picture it in my head. Like, I can just picture her just the only time she's been calm, but no, it's not like calm. It's like scary, sadistic calm, where she's just like, sorry for listeners, I'm like knife stabbing. Had a note that I wrote on here when I was 12 and I bleeped it. Can I share it?
Yes.
It says Annie said, "Get TF off of him."
Yeah, no, exactly. She's like, he might be pissing me off right now, but absolutely not. Do not come for my man. And I appreciate that.
In the way that like I can just picture her like watching Kelly like fall on him like that and was like, oh, of course she had to kill him and trying to like kill him in the most like flirtatious, girly way possible. And I think you commented this on one of my videos.
Oh, I probably did.
Said, and when Annabeth couldn't kill Rachel, but Kelly was there instead.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has just been like one thing after another for Annabeth. So I'm sure that there was a lot of like anger built up and she was just like, screw it, I'm stabbing her.
Also, I feel like it's like, I don't know if it's like Tumblr effect or like Mandela effect or like what it is, but I always thought that she stabbed Kelly in the neck. And so I reread this for the podcast and I was like, oh, I always thought it was in the neck. I didn't know it was in the back. But I remember like all the Tumblr posts about this were like, oh yeah, like Annabeth stabbing Kelly in the neck was like the move of Battle of the Labyrinth in terms of like female rage. And I was like, yeah, it is. Like, but no, it's her back.
I also just, Kelly as a monster is not I don't love the kind of flirty kind of monsters. They make me kind of uncomfortable. Especially because anytime these like immortal creatures and people type figures are like flirting with children, I'm like, get away. Stop doing it.
And she's like flirting with him and like toying with him. Like I just picture Annabeth watching and she's like, ew, what ugh. Like Rachel, yeah, that computes because Rachel's like their age, like a normal girl, but like some immortal being like trying to manipulate him and he can barely even see it. Annabeth's like, ew, what is your problem?
Because one thing about Annabeth, she can see when other people are getting manipulated, but not herself. And more on that later.
Precisely.
I feel like Julie's about to fall asleep here.
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there, but it's late.
She's like getting lower and lower down. We are almost done.
On the last page.
So, more monsters are coming, and we just kind of luckily are able to get the wings on. And they all yell to Daedalus to join them, but he won't leave Mrs. O'Leary behind. And so there's really no time to convince him, so they all just have to jump out the window. And I love that we kind of close this one with Nico being like, none of us know how to fly. And Percy going, well, this is a great time to find out. And then them all just jumping out the window. Love it. No notes.
Yep.
So that's the end for now. I know you wanted to keep reading, Julie, because
Yeah, I love a good action scene, so I'm like, I need to get more.
oh, and we've got some more good action scenes to come. Don't fret. Anything else about chapter 15?
Nothing for me.
Okay, so next time we've got 16 and 17. So, Julie, you got any predictions about these two?
We're gonna get our confrontation. Both of the chapter titles like portend a confrontation with Kronos, so I'm very excited.
Yes. I open a coffin and the lost god speaks. Hoo-hoo-hoo.
I want to see some ass beating
There will be.
by our trio.
Well, we're a quartet now because we have Nico.
Like I like Nico now because he's like we're getting his redemption arc a little bit, but I like my little love triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You add Nico in there and it shakes up the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah.
He's just the fourth wheel. He's the fourth wheel. He's just tagging along.
Anyway, I don't know. You don't have any other specific predictions about
It's
anything?
a Monday. I don't know what you want
just
from me, Mal.
confrontation.
Monday.
Okay. All right.
I will say, Julie, just FYI, this is the only chapter of Battle of the Labyrinth. No, first like 4 books that I cried at. These next 2 chapters.
Oh God.
Read in the peace of your home.
I cried at neither of them, so
That's wild.
there are 2 things that I have like really cried about in the Rick Riordan canon. Both have happened in a book 3, and neither have been this series.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I get very emotional when it comes to Percy Jackson.
What? You? That's crazy.
I also just like I feel like this series hurts me so much as like an adult because like they're literally like kids. They're my babies.
I know. There's babies.
They're so cute. They're so like babies in the series.
14-year-olds are so young.
Baby.
I know. Yeah. Is Annabeth's not 15 yet, is she?
Well, I mean, we don't know. How long's it been?
Oh, she is. She just turned 15.
Her birthday's in July.
Her birthday's in July, and we're in August right now because he was talking about his good orientation.
For Maximum Angst, her birthday happened when Percy was missing. That's what I'm saying.
Wait, you're right. Wait, yeah, because
Well, because like it was June, and I was freaking out at the start of this book because Percy got out of school way too early for having attended school in New York. But they're at camp for a couple of days, and I don't think it ever. Now we're getting into the timeline, and this all very much doesn't matter. But he says it's the first week of June when it's orientation, and then I think Grover's deadline, like at the Demon Dude Ranch, Grover talks about like how long it's been, and that's the last time we get a date. Hold on, I need to know.
yeah, because there was definitely something I saw on TikTok about her birthday being whenever Percy was at Calypso's Island.
It better be because. Oh no, it's not. It's not. Damn it. So I don't even think Annabeth is 15 yet, because it's June 13th when they're at the ranch, and then
Because when's her birthday? July 20th, right? Is her birthday?
it's July 12th is her birthday.
Oh, okay.
Because it's June 13th when they have this conversation at the ranch. And then like that day in Labyrinth time, Percy explodes a volcano and then is gone for 2 weeks. So theoretically, Percy would be back by the start of July.
So her birthday is probably right after the book ends.
Oh.
That's my assumption, because they're only gone for like a few days whenever they're at this part in the quest before they get back to camp.
Is this all in June? Rick Riordan, have a constant timeline challenge. All right. I feel like it's bedtime. Thanks so much for being here. Do you want to plug your social medias and everything once again?
My TikTok is at Sopapia's videos. And then I also just started a broadcast channel on Instagram where I also talk about Percy Jackson. And my Instagram is Soph Gretchen with a 0 for the O and then a 3 for the last E. So if you want to follow me on both, they'll both be tagged in the description for the podcast whenever she attaches the memes.
Sure will. All right. Well, it's lovely to talk to you both.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me back.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all. Julie, I'll see you next time for, 16 and 17?
Yep.
I'm excited.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Threads at @DemigodDebutPod. And if you liked what you heard, please drop us a review wherever you're listening. Since next Thursday is Thanksgiving, we won't be dropping an episode, so see you in 2 weeks for some more Battle of the Labyrinth. Bye!